So this is another in my naked video series, and today's subject is anxiety. Um, Not my anxiety, but I've lived with someone who suffers with anxiety and depression as well. And we shared a great relationship, a really good relationship. But anxiety is so destructive. I mean, just incredibly destructive to live with, but more importantly, for the person who has it, because it makes living with that person extremely difficult. It makes being around that person extremely difficult. There are times when I just wanted to go out to get away from her. And there are times when I didn't want to come back because I could be walking on eggshells literally 24 hours a day, right to the point that I went to sleep, and then I would sometimes have trouble sleeping as well. And it's not that I didn't want to come home to the person. It wasn't that I didn't want to be with that person, because I did, obviously. It's the anxiety of the person that you don't want to be around, because it takes them over. It holds them hostage. They become a prisoner to it. And I spent months of encouragement and trying to keep my cool when suddenly there would be a flare-up over something which ordinarily to somebody else would be trivial, or being outside and something would happen, or she would see something, or something was said maybe by in passing by somebody, that all of a sudden she would take very, very personally, as if it was an absolute attack on her, and she'd lose it. She would absolutely lose it. And I've had my home wrecked. I've had property destroyed. There was one instance when she would scream when things got on top of her. I mean, she would scream, and that's when things would start to be thrown around. And at one point, the screaming was so loud, anybody would have thought that she was being attacked, and obviously concerned neighbours called the police. It was just horrible to listen to. It was horrible to be around. When somebody's in that state, which I learned over a period of time, and they do start wrecking things and smashing things up, it's actually best just to leave them to it, and then afterwards go to them and comfort them and put your arm around and say, look, it's okay, everything's fine, everything's absolutely fine. And that's so difficult to do. It's so difficult to keep your patience and to understand and to care that this is not the person. This person doesn't want anxiety. It's the last thing they want. The anxiety isn't the person. The anxiety is separate from the person, but it's like it's got a hold on them. The person is absolutely fine in themselves. Lovely personality, wonderful person to be with, absolutely fantastic, but constantly held prisoner by this dreadful thing called anxiety. And once, as soon as she became anxious about one thing, she would then become anxious about being anxious, and then it would escalate and escalate and escalate. And honestly, it would take just the merest little thing that to the rest of us would be so insignificant, but to her was a volcano erupting. How quiet I kept my patience and my cool for, excuse me while I have an itch, for 6 months? I don't know, because I also have my own mental health problems. I have depression, I have personality disorder, and I'm trying to keep myself at the same time, trying to keep myself sane at the same time as trying to keep this person calm. Quite a challenge. I mean, really, there were times when I could literally cry my eyes out. But I was the only person she had for support. No one else. No one else bothered. She'd email people and message people, become more frustrated because they were running around in circles and nothing was being achieved. And it was all pouring down on me, the whole support structure. My God, it was just words fail. Words absolutely fail. How now I'm still in one piece, but fortunately I'm even though I have my own issues, my own difficulties at times, I've learnt to manage them, and I'm so pleased that I have. Otherwise, I don't know how I'd have got through it, because I would have been as bad as her, and then the whole thing would have escalated even more, and we'd have both been in the straight. I mean, I have no idea what would have happened. No, it's like no idea at all what would have happened. It's now been, I think, around about a month since I last saw her. I mean, we're still in touch. She had to move out because she was having a baby, and being here would have just it would have been complicated, really, really complicated, because of everything that she was going through, and she needed the kind of support, help, advice, guidance far more than me as an individual, as her partner, could ever have given. It would not have been possible. I did what I could. I did everything I could. So if you're living with somebody who has anxiety, you've got to be so patient. I mean, so patient. Beyond belief. Because it will test you. It will challenge you to the nth degree. Some days to hell and back. But you've got to stick with it. If you care about that person, you have to stick with it. No matter how tough it gets. No matter how much of your property is destroyed. You don't rise to it. You keep yourself calm. Because keeping yourself calm empowers and enables your partner to calm down as well. And then over a period of time, it's just like talking stuff through and examining why it happened and what was the cause of the anxiety at that time, and then how to address that initial response to it so that it doesn't escalate. And to her credit, she improved vastly. I mean, 101% since we met. And there's still a way to go, because anxiety is cruel. It is so cruel. And people just take anxiety for granted. You hear just hear that somebody's anxious, or you hear the word anxiety, and you say, oh yeah, fine, but we know we all get anxious about certain things. But real anxiety becomes your captor. You become imprisoned by it, and you feel when you have that level of anxiety that there's no way out. It's impossible. So you have to enable and empower that person to find a way out. And it's a very slow process, a really slow, painstaking, agonizing and heartbreaking process. But if you're strong enough, you will do it, and you can do it. And that's all I have to say on this occasion. Thankfully, I'm okay. I'm good. And all turned out well in the end. But I've been through some stuff in my time, but I tell you, this has just been possibly the ultimate challenge that any human being of my experience could ever go through. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.